In today's video, I'll be sharing simple collage art ideas for kids and adults, including some mindful art projects and collage art techniques, as well as some really simple and fun questions that you can ask for yourself or your child if you're sharing this, whether you're a parent or a teacher. These questions will just help us to think about the process a little bit differently. As with any of my mindful art videos and tutorials, these are really accessible for everyone, and the main intention is largely around having a practice that we can enjoy, that we can relax into, be creative and playful. So you don't need a lot of supplies for this. What I'm showing with the demonstration is watercolors, some magazine images, scissors, and glue. Although if you're working with a kid, you also don't need to use watercolors. I'm going to have all of the materials linked in the description box below. But if you do enjoy working with mixed media, this can be a really fun layered project that you can play into, whether it's in your mindful art journal or if you're doing this at home in your mindful art studio. So whatever works for you. So a few different things that I'm doing here. I had one image as my inspiration. It was that red flower, and I have that from Catherine Anderson's collage books. They are copyright-free images. I have those books linked down below as well. But if you're ever making Soul Collage cards, those are great books to use and images to use. So I had that red flower as my original inspiration, and I used that red to choose the colors that I painted down on the page. And then I just cut out the flower, as well as there were some circle shapes around it, so I cut those out as well. So what I'm doing now is I'm playing with shapes, and this is largely what I find to be the fun part about this process, where you can choose to make it a mindful art experience as well. And so I'll share a bit more of what I mean by that. So these are really simple collage art ideas. Again, they're great mindful art projects for kids or for your Soul Collage cards. And what you can do is just play with moving the shapes on the page. You might, if you're working with a kiddo or even for yourself, just ask questions around how you can move the shapes so they're in the circle, outside of the circle, and finding as many different variations as possible. You might decide to turn the page once they're in place. You can layer them. You can also ask questions around what would these shapes be like if they are piled on top of each other, if they take up a little space on the page, a lot of space, and just being curious about it. With kids, if you're working as a parent or a teacher, you can also have them name colors or just notice the sounds on the page. I enjoy that as an adult as I do these mindful art practices, is just being really present and noticing the sound as I put the glue on the paper, or I use cards to smooth the images out. So that's what I'm doing here in this part of the video. And for anyone who does not like bubbles in your collages, if you weren't aware of that tip of using a card, the first time I heard that, that blew my mind. So I hope that someone out there is really excited about that tip. But there's just this slowing down that can happen, especially with this practice, because there's already a limitation with the materials. I'm just using one magazine image that I felt really drawn to. That magazine image inspired my color palette, and you could do this with one pen. I'm using a variety of sizes with Sharpies and Micron pens. Again, I have those linked down below. I didn't end up using the Jelly Roll, the white pen, but that could be fun as well. And then I chose watercolors, but you could use any type of paints. You could use gouache or acrylics. If you're working with kids, you could use finger paints and just allow a bit of time for some of those to dry. I do suggest, if you're working with kids, especially like preschoolers, that you already have the image cut out, or you can cut out for them. But for yourself, this really can be an invitation to really drop deeper into this creative practice, to give yourself a bit of space and time, especially with what is going on in the world today. I find for myself and for my students that are in my classes or my teacher trainings, that this act of having anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes a day to just play with really simple mindful art activities, or in this case, these simple collage art ideas, just having that small window of time to notice the materials, the sounds, to notice our breath, to just be present in this moment can really do wonders. It's done wonders for me and for my students. So I'd love to hear how you're finding these practices, whether you're watching the videos and hopefully that's bringing you a bit of inspiration or comfort and some de-stressing, or if you're putting some of these practices into your mindful art journal. I'd love to hear how you're enjoying them. I'm putting in the end here, I am blooming. So you can also add word. It can be fun to have an affirmation statement. So you can really tailor this depending on how you're feeling in the moment. And if you are getting value out of this, or if you're excited and enjoying these practices, please like and subscribe. That does let me know you're enjoying them, and it helps others find the channel as well. So this is the final collage art image here with I am blooming. If you enjoyed this practice, you might enjoy another simple collage art idea in this follow-up video. So it will be coming on the screen here in a moment. And you can always share this with others too. Do this practice or just talk about it with each other.